The second book I read for this course is Power Through Partnership: How Women Lead Better Together by Betsy Polk and Maggie Alice Chodas. The first chapter talks about why partnership works for women. The first thing they talk about is how this type of working relationship offers flexibility. Many times women have family at home and they feel like they have to balance it all, and a partnership allows for this flexibility of if someone's kid is sick, the other one can pick up the slack and they both understand that stress that they have and are able to offer help. Women can inspire confidence in each other and they can keep each other accountable, and you're more likely to accomplish things down because you don't want to let down your partner. Also, women develop happiness from having strong connections, and a partnership can allow for that. The example I have is specifically about pharmacy school, and that I am leading or co-leading the Student Resource Center on the Duluth campus with one of my classmates. And we've been getting a lot of things done because we're working very well together, and we want to make sure that we are both prepared to work with students and tutors so that we can have a productive year and that we're also not stressed later on. And we've had times where there's been a family emergency and the other person has picked up the slack for the other, and it's been a very productive working relationship so far. The second chapter focuses on why women specifically benefit from partnerships more than maybe a man would. And there was a little bit of a discussion, is it more because women are raised a certain way that they benefit from partnership, or is there a scientific reason? And there's evidence for both. But at the end of the day, we know that women view themselves as individuals in a web of connections, and that we derive happiness from being connected to others. Women partnerships can provide equitable power dynamics. And what I mean by here is, say a man and a woman are in a partnership together and they go to a meeting. Most of the time, people will look towards the man as leader and the woman is just helping, and they're not viewed all the time as equal partners. While a female partnership, they are viewed as equals. So using the same example of the Student Resource Center, I think the reason why this partnership is working so well is because I feel a deep connection with the person I'm working with. She and I have a similar view of what we'd like, and we just get along. And it's made it very easy for us to get things done. The third chapter focuses on debunking myths. The biggest myth being that women can't work together because they won't get along. And the biggest thing they say is this can come from the fact that women are raised not to be assertive, which prevents them from having direct, productive conversations. We're taught that we need to be pretty and nice, and so what we do instead is we are secretive and whisper behind people's backs when we disagree with them, instead of just having a upfront conversation with someone to fix a problem. Also, society likes to hype up catfights. I mean, you can turn on television and see reality television shows where the women are fighting each other and yelling at each other, and that's what's considered good TV. We're not highlighting strong female partnerships. If someone asks me, can you name a female partnership? I don't think I could. What I've learned from this chapter and what I can see and how this applies to pharmacy practice is that I need to make sure that I do celebrate female partnerships, and that and also, if I ever choose to be in a female partnership in pharmacy, that I highlight it and I show other young women that this is a great opportunity. The next chapter talked about how to search for the right partner. The first step that the authors suggested was making sure that you take a look inward and see, what do you want, what do you need from someone? Because you need to make sure that the partner you're choosing can actually fulfill those wants and needs for you. Because if you choose a partner who isn't able to do what you need from them, then you're both just going to be unhappy in this partnership. The authors listed 3 essential things that are needed for a good partnership, and these include complementary skills, talents, and interests, shared values, and compatibility. And I have an example on the slide, but it just makes me go back to my partner for the SRC, and that we're extremely compatible. And we are able to balance each other. I'm more kind of organizational and she's more ideas. But we both want to see the SRC grow and to see more students utilizing it and to have a greater connection with the College of Pharmacy. I think that by finding a good partner, you're able to be more successful together. The next chapter focuses on preparing for risks. The authors actually reference the first book I've read for this course, Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg, and that there were so many women who would ask Sheryl, how do you balance having a family and work? How do you do this with kids? How do you, etc., etc.? And Sheryl Sandberg speaks to the fact that these were 22-year-old women who weren't even considering having kids for another 10 years, but were already worried that they're going to put too much on their plate. And she says, we need to stop worrying about this and focus on now, and don't turn down opportunities because of something that might be happening 10 years from now. And the authors also share this idea that don't let risk stop you from doing something. Let them motivate you. And have a risk toolkit. Have a discussion with your partner about, hey, these situations might come up. Here's things that we can use to deal with these barriers that come up. But I wanted to take a little bit more of a pharmacy approach that I experienced last summer, and that's I worked with an independent pharmacy, and they were starting a new adherence program. And that's a risk because they were putting money towards this and it might not work. But the partnership team, which was a female partnership team, basically used the risk to encourage them to actually make sure that this program was going to be effective and work. And basically they worked even harder because they knew that there could be a chance that they could lose some money with it. And I think that's just an example of what I can use to motivate me when I get out into practice, that to not be scared by risk, obviously make smart decisions and don't be reckless, but it's okay to sometimes take a little risk because some great experiences can come out of it. The next chapter focuses on leveraging conflict, and specifically that for a partnership to work, especially a female partnership to work, women need to face conflict head on. We need to not avoid it, even though we are definitely raised to avoid it and to make sure that we never hurt anyone's feelings or cause tension. But conflict is good. Crucial conversations are key. If we don't talk about our problems, then we can't ever fix them. The book talks about true kindness, which I really enjoyed. True kindness is when you use honesty and directness to say what needs to be said, because then actual results can happen. The book also talks about having a strategy for how to deal with conflict. Some people deal with conflict differently, and it's important to know what your partner needs from you when there is a problem. This is pretty easy to talk about, at least in regards to the pharmacy world, because there's always going to be conflict, whether it's with pharmacy employees or with patients. And specifically how this book and partnerships work is, I think that the pharmacist and pharmacy technician have a partnership to get things done when they're in a pharmacy. And being able to have a crucial conversation in which both members feel respected and heard, I think is key to making sure that the pharmacy runs smoothly. The last chapter is called the Rubber Band Theory. This chapter was a lot about how collaborations allow for give and stretch as partnerships grow in trust. And this basically means that as your relationship and your partnership grows, and your business grows, and you start to trust each other more, that's when partners can maybe do some other projects that they're interested in. It allows them to temporarily leave the partnership, or you're never really out of the partnership, but you're allowed to maybe focus on something that isn't at the center of your partnership and work on that and come back to the partnership. The authors talked about how that after a couple of years of working together, they started to continue to work together, but to do some other things. And every time they would come back to the partnership, they felt refreshed and re-energized and ready to work hard for each other. But this is only something that can happen if you trust your partner. What I talked about with this, and this was a little bit harder for me just because I'm not in practice yet for pharmacy, but I kind of took it as when we have employees or if I'm ever running a pharmacy and I am managing different pharmacists, that we're in a partnership together and our trust of each other is important. And sometimes maybe our pharmacists, they need to leave for a little bit because they need to either work on something pharmacy related, or maybe it's working on something like a family. And they just need a couple months to go focus on this. But then when they come back, they're going to be so much more focused and ready to work because you also allow them to stretch like the rubber band, but you allow them to do what they need so that they can be a better partner in your relationship. Thank you for listening to me talk about Power Through Partnership, How Women Lead Better Together. I really enjoyed this book, and I think it showed me a little bit more about how I can thrive in the pharmacy world and lead change in the pharmacy world. And one way to do that is by partnering with other women. I can't wait to use this knowledge as I get into practice. Thank you.